Time to check the tech. We see cars differently. Nice. We love them on the road and under the hood, but also check the tech and are known for telling it like it is.
Ugly is included at no extra cost.
The good, the bad, the bottom line. This is CNET on Cars.
Welcome to CNET on Cars, the show all about high-tech cars and modern driving. I'm Brian Cooley. Well, as you may know, the Chrysler Sebring was a standard on rental car lots for ages, which didn't do its rep any good. And when the Chrysler 200 replaced it, it was largely based on the Sebring, which didn't do its rep any good.
Its name means horse. Its badge is a bird. Maybe that's Hyundai's way of flipping the bird at the horse's ass who drives this car and then still buys an S-Class. Let's drive the 2011 Hyundai Equus and check the tech.
This, see that? I'm going forward and I'm reclining, and now I'm also going to get my footrest to go up. The problem is, unless you're about 5 feet tall, ow, God, this is like one of those secret prisons that the CIA runs in Romania. This is actually a torture chamber, so it helps to be small if you're going to do the reclino thing, or to be a pig and put your shoes on the seat in front of you. But if you do that, I'll shoot you. Or force, speed, in-call versus out-call. Oh, wait, that's vibration versus vibration speed, kind of the same thing. Oh, and by the way, also in this center console is a refrigerator with 2 little can holders in it. And yes, it gets quite cold in there. Now, an LCD head unit is standard on this car, navigation within it is optional, and ugly is included at no extra cost. This is my least favorite head unit of any of the cars that I like out there in the world. It's easy to spot a fit EV. It's got graphics all over it screaming that, which you'll want to pay a body shop to remove the day you bring it home. At least I would. The only place this display breaks down is in that center LCD. You can get into way TMI when you go through some of these historic charge versus average discharge. This is for the hypermile crowd. You don't care. Now onto the head unit. I want to show you the key feature on this. Now watch carefully. It's right down here. You see that? Look right in there. See what that is? That's where you're going to put the crowbar and rip this POS out and throw it away the first day you bring the car home, because that sucks. This is a tired old design that dates back to when CNET first started reviewing cars, the better part of a decade ago. It does nothing very well. Now, identifying a 14 Odyssey is not too hard because they've done a mid-cycle revision. An aluminum hood, different lines around the face, quite a few different feature lines on the body. What happened here? And there's a vast gutter back here for the slider hinge, more visually than you normally see on minivans. And then it all kind of comes to this unpleasant end. So if you do like this, it's kind of an attractive minivan. Lots of you have asked, how easy is it to move seats on these minivans? Well, here's how they do it on this guy. You pull this strap, pull the whole seat down, you can lift those seats forward and remove them in the second row. And if when you get these down, they're covered with all kinds of filth that your kids didn't tell you they were putting back there, you're in luck, because the Touring Elite comes with, you heard about it, the vacuum cleaner. And the coup de grace, or the coup de stupid, is this. Perhaps the most beautifully rendered sunglass case in all of Autodom. This tells you what kind of folks buy Bentleys. They spend a lot of money on their fashion eyewear. I want a nice place to put it.
Back in 1998, Volkswagen bought up the rights to the Bugatti Auto brand name. About all that was left of a storied French car maker that by then was better known for making aircraft landing gear, probably holding up the last jet you flew. But with this move, VW set out to prove it's about more than just jaunty Jettas and failed Phaetons. And by 2001, they unveiled the Veyron. You handle blind spots by driving away from them. Now, when you build a car like this, nothing about it's routine. It's kind of like one big rolling book of bar trivia. Just at this one corner, I could tell you stories for an hour. These tires, for example, they're made to order because no other car uses them. And they're about $25,000 a set. And when you replace those every third time, you're advised to replace the wheels as well, pushing about 40 grand a set. Even these valve stems are unique. Extra strong springs in them because at 3,000 or so RPM on the wheel when you're at full tilt, conventional valve stem springs would open up and bleed out the tire. Not good at 200 plus. When you do get a tune-up, most of this outside bodywork has to come off to get to the spark plugs. On those months, your mortgage drops to number 2 in the budget. There's almost nothing you can do with this car on a public road you couldn't do in a $70,000 Audi, except this. Pulling up in a Veyron creates an event. In the space of 20 minutes, I had one person offer rather seriously to trade me their child for it. Several begged to be allowed to sit in it. Dozens took their picture just near it. And a few resentfully and clearly purposely ignored it. People react because until that moment, it was a myth. And because of the price.
Okay, now the fun part. Let's put a price tag on our little orange friend. Base is around $2.25 million, or roughly 45 years of the U.S. median income. On top of that, there's a $51,000 destination charge because they air freight these things around via DHL. Not kidding. $6,400 gas guzzler tax, you don't care, and about a 2.6% customs duty. I bet you've never seen that on a car bill of sale before. In the end, this car is phenomenally expensive. And you would look at its German engineering, French manufacture, and Italian heritage and see a bar joke coming. But this car most certainly is not one. For its big company sophistication, brutal yet controlled performance, and cheeky open-top design, it really is a class of one. Now, unless you review cars all the time like I do, you may not notice this as a buyer. But there is that day in the Maserati owner's life when they're going to drive to the airport in their Ghibli, fly down to a business meeting, pick up their Dodge Dart rent-a-car, and see the same stuff. That's a black day in their calendar. The sharing, though, is just a little awkward, especially at a brand of this prestige. Everything works well. Touch response on this particular implementation as well is very quick, big buttons, and fast response. I like that. Got a crick in my back, standing kind of funny. It's because I got the Maserati key on the right side. Oh, this is the biggest, heaviest key yet. Maserati says it's okay, it fits in a purse, and you'll never have to use it because it's all keyless. Well, it's pushing a quarter pound, that thing. Compared to an iPhone, it's just about in the same league. That's huge. This mode switch down here, when you're in economy, the car's just too lazy. It's buried under 7th gear all the time, and the throttle response is like numb. You go to sport, now it's frantic. It's like a coke addict. It's just like,
Finally, the ride quality just isn't Mercedes, which may or may not be a good thing depending on your tastes. You'll either hate how harsh it is, or like the fact that it doesn't feel isolated from the road. I think it's a little too much the former.
Now, sometimes in a cheap little car, the little things are what matter the most, not the upholstery. What's under it? A smuggler's box under the passenger's butt. So crafty it makes anything in it look suspicious. Or it is.
Well, the overriding experience of driving a Dodge Dart with this powertrain is one of a question mark. The question is, how are the pedal, the engine, and the transmission communicating? Apparently via U.S. mail, because there's enormous delays between sending the message and it being received. This is not a responsive powertrain. Power delivery is rubbery and real loopy feeling. It's almost like you've got a CVT, a continuously variable transmission, but instead we have this dual clutch manual, but it's not a well executed one. As a result, it's not a car you like to drive hard because you don't know when you're going to get power or deceleration, certainly not when you call for it with your right foot. Let's try an experiment. I'm going to accelerate here on the gas, and when I let off, I'm going to say off, and you'll see what the RPM does. Off. It's a shame because the suspension and undercarriage of this thing feels rather nicely done.
The power window switches. Push up to go down, push down to go up. Huh? Your transmission controls are right here in the center console, except for reverse, which lives over here by the front hood release. And when I got in this morning, all that rainwater on the roof was conveniently run not down a rain channel, but down the back of my shirt and partly inside the seat. Sport is a layer on top of that that's going to sharpen your throttle response, back off stability control quite a bit, and also open up the exhaust baffling to sound like some kind of belch from hell.
Finally, there's Corsa, track mode. That cancels almost all stability control, and probably your insurance.
This little button here is an interesting slice of life with a Lamborghini. You press that to raise or lower the front of the car. That gets you over speed bumps without leaving 20% of your Gallardo behind. Base on a Superleggera is about $238. It's a high-end Gallardo, of course. $29.95 delivery charge. It must come in a velvet lined box or something. $2,100 gas guzzler tax. But at this price, you don't care.
Okay, we're going to price this guy. You better sit down. Base is $345, $320. Gas guzzler tax $3,700. Destination $25.95. To get the iPads on those powered picnic tables with keyboards and a wireless hotspot as well, add $33.6. Or really go CNET style and step it up to what they call the theater spec. That includes the whole iPad package, but also the big drop-down center screen with that champagne fridge, a 64-gig iPod Touch, and a Mac Mini in the trunk that lives in its own electric power drawer. Wireless keyboard and mouse. That raises the option total to $58,000, and now you're somewhere north of $409.
Do you see what's happening there in the video being shot right now? That's the viewfinder you're looking at right now of our main camera. See how it's doing this stuff? I've never seen that happen before in the 8 years we've been shooting these videos. There's something radiating out of this car, I think. I'm getting out. Here's where things get a little bit tech for tech's sake, though, and it's a theme we're going to see around the cabin. Now, there's the radio. I just went to it, and I'm seeing it with all of its full information. Now, give it a second. Now, you see it winks out to a minimized display and doesn't come back until I go to reach it, and the proximity sensor brings it up. Very cool. Very stupid. What's the point? Why don't I want this up all the time? Now, tech for tech's sake continues here. Here's your door over the cup holders, which normally would be one of these things that's kind of spring actuated. But here, it's like a DVD player tray. It's actually got a motor, but it's not very elegant the way you use it. You got to kind of burp it to start, and then it continues the rest. That doesn't necessarily make the experience any better. It just shows that Jules Verne still works at GM. Ditto for the glove box door. I don't need a button over here to operate a servo to open the glove box, which also when my hand goes to that button, re-proximity senses the radio for no reason. Okay, let's price our ELR. I'd like you to sit down for this part. $76,000 base. That's a problem. But we're not done. To get it CNET style, you got to spend $1,700 for the luxury package. That gets you 20s, intelligent headlights, and the blind spot and cross traffic tech. And then an adaptive cruise control package is nearly $2,000 more. All in, we're right up against $80,000 before federal and state tax credits that could easily be 10 grand. Let's keep that in mind. Still, we're looking at a $70,000 very small Cadillac with 2 doors and silly back seats that isn't that much different a performer than a Chevy Volt and can't hold a candle to a Tesla Model S, which is thousands less. Cadillac's doing a lot of great cars these days. I'm afraid this just isn't one of them, largely based on its price. Now, first off, this new S is bad news for atheists. It's proof there is a God, because they got rid of those crappy-looking faux pontoon fenders that made the last car look like a Mazda 3. Now, of course, whatever you're listening to comes through a high-end audio system in this car, including a couple of choices of Burmester audio systems, which suffer primarily from the unfortunate coincidence that they look at a glance just like a Budweiser logo. Oh, and check this out. Up here in the glove box is a little bottle of stink water. This thing is a perfume that will get injected into the air conditioning and ventilation system on demand. There's a menu for this as well, the intensity of it. The key to it, Mercedes says, different than those little $4 ones you get in the car wash, is this will not stain your interior. So once you turn it off, it dissipates and goes away.
They name all the scents as moods, including one called Freeside Mood that disturbingly sounds like there will be a child conceived in the back seat at some point.
In the back of our S550, it's relatively Spartan, believe it or not, because we haven't got all the options, which could include these executive pop-up tables like you have in business class, screens that let you echo the navigation screen, like on an airplane, and of course all manner of additional massage and heating and cooling. But even though we're kind of slumming it back here, the bear doesn't care. We got plenty of room for him. Back around these seats and also all around the cabin, you've got this funky club mood lighting back here. This kind of goes with the whole perfume in the glove box theme. 5 colors you can select from, different levels of intensity, different levels of absurdity. Okay, let's build this guy. Now, it's the second most expensive of the M cars, so it's not going to come cheap. With destination and the gas guzzler tax, it's $117 and some change, and we haven't even gotten it CNET style yet. The intriguing 6-speed is a no-cost pick. Carbon ceramic brakes are the big one, $9,200. They may pay for themselves because they can get up to 4 times the life, and they're virtually dust-free, which I love. Bang & Olufsen audio, probably overkill, but $3,700. Night vision with pedestrian detection, $2,600 more. Come on, why not? The executive package is $5,500, and that brings you a lot of sort of silly niceties, but also that great HUD, automatic high beams, and amazing active seats. And if you want the driver assistance package with the lane departure and the blind spot stuff, that's kind of a steep $1,900 considering it's not really active technology. All in, we're over $140,000 here. Now you know me, I don't buy this idea that folks who buy track-capable cars ever take them there. Very rarely, if ever. So I have to look pretty hard at this car's sibling, the 650i Grand Coupe, which gives up very little in terms of performance, gives you the option of all-wheel drive, which is important in a lot of your regions, as well as a more comfortable ride when you want it, and a lower cost of ownership, both up front and a little bit better fuel economy as well. Plus, with this guy, you're taking on the responsibility of a little bit of M-car tooliness, which may or may not print for the person who wants a luxurious four-door. All in, I do love this car, but with your money.